As we've been talking about in December and the videos we've been posting and information we've been posting on the Max Cure Foundation's website, December is offering us the opportunity to present a number of research grants and talk about what we have going on for next year in 2019. We'll soon start doing that and discuss the family financial support component of what the Max Cure Foundation does. And today, I'm really excited to talk about another grant that we're about to present to Dr. Simone Sredni from Northwestern University. What makes this even more exciting is somebody else who's joining me today to talk to Dr. Sredni about her research, and that's Henry White. And just briefly, Henry and Beth White from Virginia, in my area, lost their son, Connor White, to ATRT. It's a very, very bad pediatric brain tumor, and that's what our research is going to help fund with Dr. Sredni. But several years back, Henry and I sat down and talked about the landscape of pediatric cancer research, and they were running Connor Cures Foundation and funding some really, really aggressive research in the area of pediatric brain tumors. And so as we started talking about how we can help accelerate things and work together, one thing led to another, and we talked about joining forces, and thus the Connor Fund at the Max Cure Foundation was formed. And through that fund, we've worked together to fund a number of different grants, and the total amount that has been funded through that grant has been around $200,000, give or take. And this grant today, which we'll present shortly, is made possible because of Beth and Henry, and you know, it's apropos what we're going to fund. As you know, I'm hoping that we will be able to honor Connor and honor his legacy through what we're doing. So let me introduce Henry to everyone, and then we're going to talk to Dr. Sredni.
Well, thanks, Jonathan. When Jonathan approached me and we started coming together, I found it just really felt like it was a great match. He and I think very similarly. We get frustrated very easily over the lack of focus on really aggressive funding and doing different things these days, because unfortunately the old stuff's not working. And obviously, as he mentioned, we lost our son Connor at 6 months old to an ATRT. And so that's obviously near and dear to our heart. So to be able to put some of the money that we've raised through our foundation to work, and that was really one of my biggest problems with our foundation, was finding ways to put it to work. You'd be surprised how many people say they want money and then it's almost impossible to get it to them. So Jonathan's much better at facilitating that. So we decided to work with Jonathan and create this fund and to do great things like this. And hopefully that you guys can, we also agreed that it was all the hard, we'll call the difficult cancers. If you focus on them, you'll probably have a better chance of curing other cancers than the other way around. If you focus on the quote unquote simple ones, not that any are simple, you find that it's nothing gets taken to all these really, really devastating cancers like an ATRT, a DIPG, and other horrible brain tumors. So with that, I'll leave it back to you, Jonathan.
Well, thanks, Henry. So, you know, today I'd like to introduce everybody to Simone Sredni, who's a research associate professor of neurological surgery at the Feinberg School of Medicine, Northwestern University. Her research focuses upon pediatric brain tumors and pediatric embryonal tumors with a focus on atypical tentorial rhabdoid tumors, or ATRT for short. Dr. Sredni, welcome, and thank you for your time today.
Hi, thank you, John. Thank you, Mr. White, to join us. It's been so many stories, like Connor's stories, and DIPG and ATRT, but ATRT has been my mission. And we are just tired of losing kids so fast and so aggressively to this horrible, horrible type of tumor. So that's why I focus my research on that. So thank you for supporting my research. It's really important.
Absolutely. When, after Henry and I spoke a handful of weeks back about trying to identify some research to fund for this next cycle, I was really excited when I started looking at some of the work that you'd been doing and sent it on to Henry and Beth. And, everybody agreed that this research that we're here to fund today is exactly what we want to be focused on. And so, I guess what I'm going to do is move forward and just jump right into it and talk about the grant that's been funded today. And Henry, maybe you can talk a little bit about the amount that we're funding, and then I think we've got some questions for Dr. Sredni in terms of what she's going to do with the money. But in advance of that,
I don't think I have to talk about the amount if you just put the check in front of the picture, the monitor there.
There's
there you go.
Ceremonial check. Hopefully.
Ceremonial check. Nice.
Thank you.
No, and I hope that we all hope that is a good amount of money to get started with us. And we know that doesn't cover everything. And you guys are funding a lot of and doing a lot of other research and even lots of other funding. But if it helps at all, we are ecstatic to support and try to cure this horrible tumor. So
that helps.
So, Dr. Sredni, if you could just talk about what the funds are going to be utilized for, I think that would be a good topic.
Yeah. So I'd like briefly to introduce myself. I'm a pathologist and pediatric pathologist, specialized in pediatric solid tumors, more specifically in embryonal brain tumors. And I have a Ph.D. in molecular pathology of the same type of tumors. And I was born and raised in Brazil. In 2004, I was invited to join Louis Children's, that was then called Children's Memorial Hospital, that's affiliated to Northwestern. And in 2011, I got my appointment and I was able to do research only. But I always was involved in research since I did my PhD. And ATRT was one of our nightmares. Since I was a resident many decades, a few decades ago, I remember looking at the microscope and really trying not to write down what I was seeing there because the prognosis was so poor and the news would be so bad to the families. So I always stop, drink some coffee, and come back to try to avoid that terrible diagnosis. And as I said, that's a few decades ago, and after so much time, we are still dealing with those kids dying so fast and with those treatments that are so toxic and ineffective. So that's my focus, actually, to try to bring some hope to all those families that we suffer. Every child that we lose is really painful for us to deal with that. So I was happy to be able to focus on my research for not a long time. So I'm not young, but I am a young investigator. And all the questions that I brought from my experience in clinics, I am able to address now. And of course, I need support from people like you to keep moving, because ATRT is considered a rare tumor, although it's really not rare enough. What I like to say is that it's not rare enough. We don't want to see one other ATRT happening because it will kill children. And Mr. White know what I'm talking about, right? So so that's me. So I focus my research on that. And about 4 years ago, I started a big project using state-of-the-art technology that's called CRISPR technology to investigate 160 genes and see if I turn off one by one what's going to happen to the tumor. I wanted to find a gene that the tumor would be dependent on. And from those 160 genes, we found one that would actually stop tumor growth and induce cell tumor death. And the name of this gene is PLK4. And we validated extensively our finding, we published our findings, and we validated in cells and in animals. And we start associating with other drugs, with drugs that are in standard of care, those chemotherapy drugs, because we want a cure now. And we found out that when we turn off this gene, the tumor gets really more sensitive to those chemotherapy drugs that are already in the market. So we move forward with our research, and going back to MaxCure, what you will be funding is this big enterprise of developing an inhibitor that can be used in kids. So we want to develop a drug that will inhibit this gene, that will be able to be given orally, that will have low toxicity, and that will be suitable for treating our kids as soon as possible. So to get to where I want, I am associated with top-line pharmacologists and med chemistry chemists, and we need to generate data to be able to apply to those multi-million dollars federal grants that will support drug development endeavor like this one. And that's when Jonathan called me, sent an email actually, if I need help. And like, yes, I really need help now. I need to develop solid preliminary data to be competitive. And that's what we are doing with this money that you guys raised. And we came to a point that we really need this money to synthesize new compounds that we will test in our cells and find the best one that's going to be the lead compound, validate at every level, and we are raising more funding to do that too. And then we will write probably next year, hopefully, a competitive grant application to develop this drug to be used in pediatrics.
Great. Thanks for that explanation. I mean,
Sure.
I think that's probably as simple as you could make it for us lay people to understand. So we certainly appreciate that. You know, I can tell you from my discussions with Henry, and when we talk about funding and funding research, you know, it's really critical and important for us to be able to fill in gaps and to fund projects that have high risk and can provide a high reward. And, you know, that really was the mandate provided by Henry and Beth in terms of working together. And, you know, I think that once, and I'll let Henry jump in, once we started talking about your research and your work and started considering it, it struck us as a really great fit.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, I mean, Jonathan, I can't agree with you more. It was a phenomenal just fit for us, obviously, personally. We just really, really appreciate what you're doing, because it's not easy, and you're going after, you know, everybody says, oh, it's just a small percentage, but we hope that you can focus on a small percentage and help the big percentage in the long run.
Yeah.
And, you touched on it a little bit in terms of funding, like the grant that MaxCure is giving you through Connor Cures and the Connor Fund. But, just what role do these types of grants play overall in helping to move your research forward? It's
such a critical role. So as you may know, pediatric cancer receive only 4% of federal funding.
Yeah.
And that's not enough. So we work in a highly competitive environment, and for the rare tumors like ATRT, these tumors are not priority. They will fund more frequent tumors because it's the government which have to address and have to beneficiate more people. So it's the catch-22 actually. We need preliminary data to be able to apply to make competitive applications to federal funding and reach that 4%. But how can we get funding to generate the preliminary data that we need? So foundations like the MaxCure is what make this possible. So it's critical, it's really important. If I didn't get that phone call that day and this generous offer, and we know we need millions of dollars, but at this point, this money will really help me move forward, synthesizing the compounds that I need to found the lead compound necessary to apply for that. So the work you do is incredibly important for us. So every dollar counts, and we know how it takes time and dedication from your part. So it's a partnership, actually. I cannot work if you are not working and backing me up. So it's very important, more than you can imagine. I need you to do my work, otherwise I can't. Just passion alone, I'm passionate, but I should say that passion alone won't buy my reagents. So
very true.
Yeah. For us at the MaxCure Foundation and working with Beth and Henry, it's critical in my mind that we move forward in a way that is under the umbrella of the type of research that Henry and I have been talking about for a number of years. But more importantly to me, in funding something like this, is that we try and honor Connor and honor his legacy and continue to move forward and provide hope to other parents. And it's only through what Beth and Henry have done and what they did do at Connor Cures and working together that we can try and make this happen. So I just want to thank Henry and Beth and Connor Cures, and now what we're doing through the Connor Fund, MaxCure Foundation. Henry, I don't know whether you want to say a few words.
I just want to say thank you to you, Jonathan, for facilitating all of this, because that's the piece that I couldn't do. And that's why we're working together, and you're fantastic at it. And keep pulling me in, because I know I'm painful to get hold of sometimes, but keep pulling me in. I want to make sure we fund some of these things and really make sure the money goes to the right places.
Well,
thank you.
We're going to do more, and looking forward to doing more in the future. And to Dr. Sredni, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your focus and your efforts. We look forward to getting some results and talking to you again, and moving forward with you as partners, and really trying to make an impact in a disease like ATRT.
Thank you so much. And I want to state that at my side, because I came from the clinic, every day with what we want. We want the cure, but we want to honor parents and children and those lost children and all the effort and all the suffering and all the efforts that you guys do. And we will partner on that, and I hope we can.
Right.
You.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And stay tuned to MaxCure's social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We got more announcements coming up through the end of December. We're not coasting into 2019. We want to continue to push as hard as possible. And thank you to all of our supporters and all of our donors for being able to help make the things happen that we're talking about here. So thank you, everyone.